Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Modern Day Mystic Show. Our mission here is to help you turn whatever you desire into real-life manifestations by sharing our revolutionary technology to make that happen for you. We bring such cutting-edge information through our resident wizard, Peter Schenk, and also through such magical guests each week that are really making a difference to improve our lives on a variety of levels. I am your co-host, Donna, along with the founder of this program, the modern day mystic himself, Peter Schenk. Peter, how
Donna,
are
how
you?
are you? I'm doing fantastic. We've got an amazing guest tonight. We've got an amazing lineup of incentives as usual, and we'll be getting into those in a little bit.
Absolutely. And of course, before we get into those, I want to give a quick shout out to Charles Singer, because without Charles was the one who suggested that we have Dr. Bradley Nelson on the show tonight. So big shout out to Charles Singer. So let me go ahead and just talk a little bit about Dr. Bradley Nelson. And Dr. Nelson has lectured internationally on the natural healing of chronic illness and successfully treated patients from across the U.S. and Canada for more than 20 years. He has trained more than 2,000 practitioners worldwide on how to help people overcome unresolved anger, depression, anxiety, loneliness, and other negative emotions and the physical symptoms associated with them. So we are so in for a treat tonight, aren't we?
He is a very interesting person. So, Dr. Bradley, how are you? Welcome to the MDM Show.
Well, thank you, Peter and Donna. It's great to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a holistic chiropractor. I started out in practice in 1988, and it was actually an answer to prayer that I got into the healing arts. It actually started back when I was about 13 years old. I developed kidney disease, and there was no available treatment for me in Western medicine. So my parents decided to take me to some alternative doctors who practiced out on the edge of town in a trailer house in the middle of a field. But they would have busloads of people that would come to them, and they were true healers, and they healed me. And it was at that time that I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to become a healer. And so years went on. I got involved in other things, and then I actually had a really profound experience. I was asking for help from up above, asking God what to do and what direction I should go. And I got a really very clear answer that I was to go into the healing arts. Well, so when I got into when I got out of practice, or when I got out of school actually, and I got into practice for myself, I started working on people, but I got in the habit of asking for help from up above with every person that I worked on. And gradually more and more information came through to me, and there were times when I would ask for help and just say a silent prayer. Nobody ever knew I was doing this. It was a totally personal, private thing. And there were times when the information that I needed about this particular patient would just literally flood into my mind. And sometimes it was things I'd never even considered before, different ways of looking at things. And so as time went on, I learned more and more about what really makes our bodies tick, how our bodies really work, and the true nature, the true sources of disease. Because I was kind of like a family practice doctor. I was seeing all kinds of people of all ages with all kinds of conditions, everything from depression to infertility to migraines to all kinds of pain and sometimes even cancer patients and so on. And I was really kind of obsessed to know what was really wrong with these people. Now, in Western medicine, what we do when someone has an illness is we try throwing different things at that illness to see what sticks, right? It's kind of like throwing things at the wall to see what sticks on the wall. And if one medication doesn't work, Western medicine will try something else and so on. Well, what I found was that there are really six underlying imbalances that people suffer from that cause all of our diseases and all of our illnesses. And when I say the word symptom, you probably think of headaches or nausea, things like that. But what I've come to the conclusion of is that the natural state for all of us is to be in a state of abundance and to be in a state of joy and in a state of perfection and so on. And what happens to us is that we suffer from these various imbalances that we pick up during our lives. And these can be things like pathogens that get into the body. They can be nutritional deficiencies. They can be energetic imbalances like trapped emotional energies that get into the body, toxins, on and on. And what I found is that there are really only six categories of imbalances. And it's really the imbalances that we suffer from that then manifest in our lives as symptoms. And when I say symptoms, I don't just mean the kinds of symptoms that most people think of. I'm including those, but I'm also including symptoms of malfunction in your life. For example, if you can't seem to find your soulmate, if you are missing out on love in your life, that's a symptom. And if your bank account, for example, seems to have holes in it and the money keeps draining out, I know a lot of people.
That never happens.
Right. That's a symptom too, see? That's a symptom. And so what I'm finding is that as we clear these imbalances from the body, we get the body back to this state that it's really designed to be in, which is this state of balance and perfection, and then things start to flow to us in a much more natural way. Well, the first thing that I figured out was that was really shown to me.
Dr. Bradley, so
Go ahead.
if I start eating organically, my bank account's going to grow? Is that how it works?
No, there's more to it than that. Although eating organically is a really good idea.
Okay.
It's a really good idea. But no, it has more to do really with our emotional baggage. Now, we use that phrase. We say things like, oh, that Donna, she's just got a lot of emotional baggage, right?
Yeah. My God, he's a genius. How did he know that?
We all have
already.
emotional baggage. Sorry, Donna. People say that about me, and
That's all right. I pick on her all the time. It's all good.
The interesting thing is we all have emotional baggage. And what is emotional baggage? Well, if you think about it, you see the human
have a
body.
question for you. What is trapped emotion?
That's the same thing.
Okay.
Trapped emotions are emotional baggage. And so what I found is that, of course, we know the body is just energy. I mean, if you look at your hand, it looks solid, but if you magnified it under a million-power microscope, you'd see it's really just energy. You get right down to it. We're made of atoms, but atoms are really made essentially of nothing. You look inside an atom, there's nothing in there but empty space and these little infinitesimally tiny energies zipping around at the speed of light. And that's really what we are. So if you think about it, it's a fascinating thing to contemplate. But the body itself is really just this energy field, this very complex energy field. It consists of an almost countless number of subatomic energies that are all really flying in this formation all through your life, keeping your body from just dissipating and flying apart. It's a crazy thing. Well, when you're experiencing an intense emotion, maybe it's anger or resentment or grief or whatever it is, what's really going on at the quantum level is that the vibration of this emotion, because you see all energy has vibration and different emotions have different frequencies, right? Different energies. So anger is different than sadness, and that's different from frustration. They're all different. But when you're feeling an intense emotion, what can happen is your whole body can take on that vibration, that frequency. And sometimes when you're feeling an intense emotion, the energy of that emotion will be too much for the body to process in some way that we don't really understand yet. But what happens is when that event is over, the bully moves away, the divorce is over, you quit that job, whatever it is, the emotional energy, some of that emotional energy is still with you. And what we find is that these are trapped emotions, we call them, and each trapped emotion is literally a ball of energy from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a cantaloupe. And these things lodge in the body. They can lodge anywhere, and they cause two problems for us. The first problem is that they distort the normal energy field of the body. Now, that's all your body is an energy field. So when you have a trapped emotion of anger or resentment or something in the body, in that little area, wherever that thing is lodged, that energy, it's distorting the normal energy field of the body on a continual basis. Now, if you distort the energy field of the body, ultimately you are distorting that physical body as well, and so we start having symptoms. We start to experience pain, or if it's in an organ, the organ starts to have problems, or eventually, it can actually turn into even worse things. For example, I had a patient that came to me many years ago. She was about 72, and it was her very first visit, and the first thing that showed up was she had a trapped emotion, and the emotion was sadness. So I started tracing it back, and we teach all of this in the emotion code. Anybody can do this. There's nothing, nothing special about me doing it. I'm just here to teach everybody how it works. But anyway, I was tracing down this emotion, and I figured out that it had occurred in 1963. And it only took a few seconds to figure this out. And so then I thought to myself, well, 63, maybe it was about JFK. And so I asked her if that might be what this is about. And she has her arms stretched out, right? And I'm muscle testing her to get an answer. And at the same moment that her physical body responds back very strongly that, yes, that's what this was about, at that same moment, she breaks down weeping. And she says, yes, that affected me so deeply. And then when his son died in the plane crash, it was like it all came back all over again. And for days, all she could do was cry. She couldn't even work. And so I thought to myself, gee, that's really interesting. And I wonder where this energy, this ball of emotion, has been all these years. So I tested her to see, and it wasn't on the right side of her body, because you can ask the body and it will tell you. The subconscious mind knows where these things are, knows everything about these trapped emotions. It was on the left side of her body, and it was actually in the left chest, it was actually in the left breast area. Now, when I found that, when I discovered that, she and I just looked at each other wide-eyed, because 4 years before, she'd had that breast removed because it was malignant. Now, this is the kind of thing that we see. Every case of cancer that I've seen in 27 years now has had emotional baggage as an underlying cause. And what I have found is that 90% of all the diseases that we suffer from, all of our physical diseases, plus all of our mental, emotional problems like eating disorders and PTSD and panic attacks and phobias and depression and anxiety, all of that, it all has emotional roots. And the emotion code is just this simple, easy way for anybody to get rid of their emotional baggage. And you don't have to go to a specialist to do this. You can do it yourself, and that's one of the beautiful things about it.
So, is it possible to die from a broken heart?
Yes, it absolutely is. In fact, let me tell you a story. Many years ago, there was a woman who came to see me who thought she was having a heart attack. She had difficulty breathing, crushing chest pain. Her left arm was totally numb. The left side of her face was numb. And I told my staff to stand by. We might need an ambulance. It sure looked like a heart attack to me. But I did some testing on her. And you see, the subconscious mind knows exactly what's wrong with us, knows exactly why we have symptoms. And that's a key to all the work that I teach, is tapping into that subconscious mind, that spirit within us. And so I started asking some questions and doing some testing on her, and what I found was she had a trapped emotion of grief. And so I started testing to see when this had occurred. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. When I got back to 3 years ago, boom, and I figured out that's when it had occurred. She burst into tears, and she said, I can't believe that's still affecting me. I thought I dealt with all that. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, 3 years before, her husband had an affair. And it destroyed her marriage, and it destroyed her life for a while. But she went to therapy for a while and put her life back together, and she had even recently gotten remarried. So as far as she was concerned, that ex-husband was just ancient history. She was moving on. However, the emotional energy had become trapped in her body. And when I released that trapped emotion of grief from her husband's affair, the feeling came back into her arm and face, whoosh, just about that fast. And the chest pain was gone, difficulty breathing was gone. She started laughing. And she left the office 10 minutes later, and I'm still in touch with her, and she's never had another problem. Now, she is somebody who likely would have died of a broken heart. The medical doctors call this cardiac syndrome, where you feel like you're having a heart attack, you go to the hospital, you call 911, an ambulance comes, which is a good idea, by the way. Call 911 if you think you're having a heart attack. But these are people who go to the hospital, they run all the tests, and they come back and they say, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with your heart. We don't know what happened, but this is the kind of thing that is going on. What percent of heart attacks are actually being caused by emotional baggage? I think it's much more significant than we realize. I think she would have been a statistic C. She probably would have died. That was probably almost 30 years ago. And she's still alive and well, lives in Oregon, and I think she would have been one of those people. So yes, it's definitely possible.
That's just fantastic. I mean, just to hear stories like that, and for people to be able to release the emotions, I think that's awesome.
Did I blink out of existence there for a minute?
Yeah, you stepped into another dimension. You back?
I'm outputting a little bit too much tonight. Everyone, please get a glass of water. I should have done that at the beginning of the show. Left hand over the glass of water, about 3 inches. Spread your fingers. Left side of the body is for receiving. We're just doing a general blessing tonight. Left hand over the glass, 3 inches. In a second, you'll feel that energy flow running down through your hand into the water. I'd like everyone to put your attention on the water and repeat the words out loud. I honor the space in which you exist. And again, energy that is in physical form or non-physical form is consciousness. It will do anything for you as long as you acknowledge its existence. And the highest form of acknowledgement you can give this type of energy is honoring its space. I honor the space in which you exist. That energy flow should be increasing now. Give it another 20 seconds, and then I'd like everyone to go ahead and drink as much as you want. That includes you, Donna. Cheers. Okay, I have to apologize tonight, folks. My internet capabilities are flaking out, so if I fall off the show, I'm sure Dr. Bradley will keep you well informed and Donna well entertained.
No, it's...
Do you use magnets in any of this work that you do?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, what we find is that you can release emotional baggage, kind of in the same way that you can erase your credit card. For example, here's a credit card from my wallet, and if I take a magnet and I rub it on that magnetic strip, of course that deletes the data that's on there. And with the human body, it's kind of similar. What we do is we use the governing meridian, which starts at the tailbone and flows straight up the back and over the top of the head to the upper lip. And so what we do is we have a refrigerator magnet, actually, that has the chart of emotions listed on it. And what we do is when we find an emotion, we go through this little process of identifying the emotion, when it occurred, and so on. And when the subconscious mind says we can release the emotion, we just swipe the magnet over the governing meridian a few times, 3 times typically, 10 times if the emotional energy was inherited. And because what happens is sometimes when we are conceived, emotional energy or emotional baggage, trapped emotions, can be passed to us from mom or dad. And they might have received those when they were conceived from their mom or dad, and these can go back for generations. And so we do 10 swipes of the magnet, and you can use any kind of magnet. And if you don't have a magnet, you can actually use your fingertips because of course, they're also magnetic. And so you don't have to have any kind of a magnet. Initially, we thought you did. We thought you had to have an expensive, very special magnet because that's all we had. And then we started testing all kinds of magnets, and it doesn't really matter. You can use any sort of magnet. But yeah, we do use magnets, and it's such a simple process. Let me tell you a story. I was talking to a woman recently who told me that she got the Emotion Code book and the book on audio. She started reading the book and listening to it, and her son started reading it and listening to it as well. And he started practicing with his friends, and she didn't pay too much attention, but a couple of weeks later the phone rang. And the woman on the other end of the phone line identified herself as the mother of one of her son's friends. And she said, listen, your son's been doing this emotion thing with the boys. And she said, I haven't paid much attention, but she said, something really dramatic has happened. She said, my son has had a phobia of water all of his life. And we've taken him to different people and tried different things, and nothing has ever fixed this. But she said, right now, my son is in the pool swimming with the other boys. She said, I can't wrap my mind around this. This is impossible. Your son did this to him. She said, what is going on? What is he doing? How is this even possible? And, of course, you know, it was the emotion code. And phobias, oftentimes, are simply one or two trapped emotions that you release, and suddenly things change. And those two boys are only 11 years old. And the beauty of that story is that it shows how simple this is. It really is simple.
So you were talking about the subconscious mind before. Is it really possible that people can tap into their subconscious mind in 60 seconds or less?
Yes, it absolutely is. In fact, I can do a demonstration for your listeners if you want.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
We love to use Donna as the guinea pig, by the way.
Okay, Donna, get ready. Here we go.
All righty.
So, first of all, if you think about a plant, if you put a plant near a window, it's going to grow towards the light coming in from the window. They've done studies with plants, and if you put a plant in a room that has uniform lighting all around, of course, the plant is going to grow straight up, right? But what they found is that if you put a speaker in that room, and that speaker is playing beautiful, soothing, classical music, or maybe lullabies, things like that, the plant will actually bend towards the sound coming out of that speaker. On the other hand, if the speaker is blasting harsh noises, grating music, certain kinds of music that are annoying to the plant, what will happen is the plant will grow away from the sound coming out of the speaker, and even the roots will bend away from that sound. And so you see, the human body is an organism, more complex than a plant, but we have this same ability built right into us to respond to positive or negative input in a similar sort of way. So here's how this works. If you stand up, Donna, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, stand up. We're going to make Donna do this. Now here's how this works, okay? And if you're at home listening, here's what you do. So go ahead and stand up. And just drop your hands down to your sides.
Okay.
And just relax completely, okay, as completely as you can. And what we're going to do here is I want you to listen to, just close your eyes, Donna. There you go. Now what I want you to do is just listen to the sound of my voice, and I'm going to give you something, negative. We're going to start with something really negative. The body will tend to sway either forward towards truth or positivity or congruency, or it will sway backwards away from negativity or falsehood or incongruency. So I'm going to give you something really negative first. We'll see what your body does. What I'm going to do is I want you to think about the word war. Now, if you think about that word, you know, we hear that word every day. Wars have been going on nonstop since day one on this planet. But imagine that you had to explain to somebody what really goes on in war. Think about that word for a moment. What really happens in war? What do people do to other people? What happens to villages and families and fathers and sons and children? What really goes on there? And the moment that your subconscious mind starts to really connect with what that word really means, your body will start to sway backward to move you away from the sheer negativity of what that word actually means, you see. And so just think about that for a second.
Donna,
those
don't
of you
fall
that
into the camera.
What's that?
I asked Donna not to fall into the camera.
Yeah, be careful. So, okay, now, so the body should sway backwards on thoughts of, again, negativity, falsehood, or incongruency. Now let's try something else. So, Donna, I want you to think, and those of you that are at home listening, you can do the same thing. You just stand there very relaxed with your arms down by your sides, and I want you to think about something. Let's try gratitude, very high vibration. Think about someone in your life that you're really grateful for. Somebody that's done something wonderful for you, Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a child, maybe it was a teacher or a parent. Think about someone that you could be grateful for. Or maybe it's just an event, or maybe it's just a situation in your life. Whatever it is, think about something that you can feel gratitude for and allow your heart to fill with that feeling of gratitude for that person or that event or that situation, whatever it is. Just allow your heart to fill with that emotion of gratitude. And what you'll find is that that's such a positive energy that when your subconscious mind gets into resonance with that high vibration of gratitude, you'll start to sway forward. And that's the subconscious mind moving your physical body towards that vibration, towards that truth or positivity or congruency. So let's check in with Donna.
Hey, Donna, come back to Earth.
Wow.
Earth to Donna. So how'd that work for you?
You know what? I have to tell you that it really felt like I was being moved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys could see me moving or not, but I'm like, I'm gonna fall over. But I could feel the movement, and I'm really excited to watch the replay of this, because then I'll be able to really do it again and over and over and over again, and do it with my kids.
Yes, it's really fun. So what happens is, you see, this is just one way that we can tap into the subconscious mind. Let me tell you something. For years I've taught that the subconscious mind is 95% of our intelligence, and that the conscious mind is 5% of our intelligence. Recently, though, it dawned on me that I'd never really checked this out. So I started praying about this and asking for guidance about this, and here's what came to me. That the conscious mind is, you ready for this? It's 0.000000001% of our intelligence. Think about that. That's the conscious mind. That's where we live. We make our decisions there. You know, we take tests. We go to college. You know, we have our relationships and everything else. But we are these incredibly intelligent beings. But when we come down into this world, from the world that we came from, there is what I like to call a veil that is put over us, or somehow our intelligence, our ability to access all of our intelligence is dialed way, way, way back, so that we don't have the ability to connect with all of the intelligence that really, when we die, comes back to us. When people die, they come back and they have these experiences, if they're lucky enough, or maybe unlucky enough to come back, depending on how you look at it. What do they say? They say things like, gee, you know, when I went to the other side, I could ask as many questions as I wanted to simultaneously. I could ask hundreds, thousands of questions simultaneously, and the answers would all flow into me, and I could comprehend everything. And we're not capable of that now. We can't think more than one thought at a time. But that's what I think is going on with us. You know, we're dialed way, way back, and I believe there are really specific reasons for that. It's all part of a great plan. Well, the subconscious mind knows exactly what's going on with us. It knows exactly what emotional baggage you have. It knows exactly what it's doing to you. If you've been diagnosed with some kind of a disease or some kind of a mental or emotional illness, whatever it is, your subconscious mind knows precisely the reasons why. And that's what I've devoted my career and my life to, is bringing this knowledge out to the world, that within each one of us is the answer, really, all the answers to everything that's wrong, all the symptoms that we experience. The subconscious mind, it knows. And I believe actually that the subconscious mind is most likely the heart itself, really. The heart is really the core of our being, the seat of the soul, the source of our creativity and love and romance and everything else. And that's what the ancients believed it to be. But in Western medicine, you know, what do we learn? Well, in the West, we believe that the heart is really nothing but this muscular pump. It just pumps the blood. But when we started doing, you know, in Western medicine, when they started doing heart transplants back in the 1960s, people would come back sometimes and they would say, you know, I think I'm losing my mind. My handwriting has completely changed. or they'd say, my taste in music or sports or food has totally changed radically. I think I'm losing my mind. What's happening to me? And when they would connect with the donor, the heart donor, or the family, rather, of the heart donor, what they would find in every case was, oh, your handwriting, that's my son's handwriting that you have now. Or those memories that you have of those places that you've never been to, he's been to those places. Yes, my daughter loved classical music, and that's why now you love classical music, and all of those things. And so the heart, you see, is really the core, I believe, of our being. And that leads us to a very common problem that most people have, having to do with their heart, that we call the heart wall. And that's something that was, I believe this has been called the most important discovery in the history of energy medicine, and I think it's very possible that that may be true, because 93% of people have something called a heart wall, that is a wall of energy surrounding their heart that was put up at some point in their life when they felt their heart was going to break.
I think a lot of people experience that at some point in their life, the broken heart syndrome. Dr. Bradley, I want to take a couple minutes out, and I want to do a live activation for our audience utilizing the Aquaware 4 technology. So I'm going to switch screens here. I'm going to share it out. So for the new listeners on the MDM show tonight, we do a lot of things at MDM, and one of them is we have a line of software that programs water with intent. Aquaware 4 is my flagship product, and we're going to do a live activation here utilizing love as a fantastic intent. Aquaware offers over 700 pre-canned intents, and it also allows you to build your own intent in a number of different ways. So I already have the software set up. We are set up in standard mode. And kind of interesting, Dr. Bradley, there is a feature on here that's going to run called user preparation. And what that does is it creates a thin veil, or the frequency inside the water, that when you drink it, the program water with the intent of love, it goes right to the subconscious mind, believe it or not, and opens it up in this reality for acceptance of the intent to actually work. So folks, the only thing that's required of you is where you put your attention, the intention will go. It doesn't matter if it's a glass of water in front of your computer. It doesn't matter if it's a case of water downstairs in your refrigerator. It doesn't matter if it's a body of water on the other side of the planet or a cup of coffee on Mars. Where you put your attention, the intention will go. So we're set up here with Aquaware 4. We're at 81%, which is my favorite. And the only thing that's required of the user audience is put your attention on the target water, and I'll walk you through exactly what's happening on the screen and happening to your water. Now, before I activate this, I want people to really physically watch your water, because the water preparation is the first part that runs. It removes all the memories and the imprints of the water of everywhere it's ever been. And then we run in the user preparation. It creates that thin veil, and then we actually nucleate it with the intent. Okay, so again, I'll count backwards, 3, 2, 1. Where you put your attention, the intention will go. Okay, the only thing that's required of you is just a split second. You don't have to do anything else. The software, the connection, it's already done for you. Everything is programmed for you. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. We're now running water preparation. We are removing the memories and the imprints and the frequencies of everywhere the water has ever been, returning it to a pristine state. Water preparation in this version runs for about 30 seconds. We're now running user preparation. We are creating a thin veil inside the water. It's a frequency that the subconscious mind picks up on as soon as you drink it, and opens it up for acceptance of the love intent we're running tonight. This was actually one of my favorite ones, and one of the first ones I've ever created. This one really has an impact on people that drink it. Now we are nucleating that water with the love intent. This runs for about 81 seconds. And again, we're running it at 81%. The higher the percentage, the more you charge the water. Well, I teach a lot of people when I teach classes utilizing this technology. You always want to keep the user percentage below, 20, 25% when you're first starting out, because you're very susceptible to detoxing. You're drinking very high vibrational water. The body doesn't know how to handle that water sometimes, and it causes a detoxing effect. Okay, I'd like everyone to go ahead and drink as much of that water as you'd like, and notice the taste and the texture of it. And then notice where it's moving in the body energetically. We have a special incentive on Aquaware tonight, 33% off of the regular retail price of $397, bringing the price down to $266. The incentive code is 33OFF-SHOW. Again, it's 33OFF-SHOW. That's good for 48 hours, and once it's gone, it is gone. Okay, Dr. Bradley, back to you.
Okay. That was really interesting.
What's that?
That was really interesting. I'm getting some feedback.
Sure.
Echo. Anyway. Cool.
So, how do trapped emotions interfere with our ability to give and receive love?
Well, here's what happens. When you feel like your heart is going to break, the subconscious mind will often put up a wall around the heart made of your trapped emotions, your emotional baggage. We call this a heart wall. Now, they've done studies in the lab where they found that the heart is much, much more powerful than any other organ in the body. The heart puts out a magnetic field that extends out around the body 12 feet in diameter. And they've also found that when one person's feeling love or affection for another person, their heartbeat will become measurable in the brain waves of that other person. Think about that. So there's a communication going on all the time from all of us, heart to heart. Well, what happens is, and actually this was shown to me, this wasn't something that I figured out on my own at all, but a number of years ago, my wife had a dream. And as I was trying to help her decipher this dream, I suddenly had what I can only describe as a waking vision, where suddenly before me I saw this beautiful hardwood floor. And it was the most beautiful floor I've ever seen. It was in high definition. It was really a unique experience. Well, this lasted for several minutes, and I'm seeing this beautiful hardwood floor in front of me instead of the room that I'm in. And at the same time, I have in my mind this understanding that my wife's heart is underneath this floor. I had absolutely no idea what this meant. This was very strange. And I told my wife what I was seeing and understanding, and we started asking for help from up above and started doing some testing. We figured out that, well, she was born into a very volatile family. Her father was a rageaholic, very dysfunctional. And when she was 2 years old, her subconscious mind started putting up a wall around her heart to protect her heart from being totally broken. Now, the vast majority of people have, at some point in their life, felt like their heart was going to break. And it's a physical sensation. Those that have experienced it know you feel like there's an elephant sitting on your chest, or you feel like you can't breathe. And that really, I believe, is an assault on that deepest core of your being. And so the subconscious mind will put up a wall around the heart to protect the heart from being totally broken. Now, in my wife's case, what was happening with her was that she had a hard time really connecting with people. It was easy for her to feel negative emotions, harder to feel positive emotions. She suffered from depression and anxiety and so on. And when we started releasing those emotions, it took us a little bit of time, a couple of weeks actually, to release all that baggage. And when it was all gone, suddenly, for the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged with people that she knew. Up until that time, she'd always felt like she was on the outside looking in. And it really radically changed her life. One of the next people that I saw who had this phenomenon going on was a 38-year-old nurse who came to me because she had neck pain. And she'd seen a couple of other doctors. They weren't able to fix her. And so what I found was, when I was talking with her, she told me that she was single And she hadn't dated in 8 years, and she was never going to date again. She was going to die single. She was celibate, basically. And I said, well, what happened to you? And she said that 8 years before, she was really in love with this guy who dumped her and broke her heart. And so I tested her, and I found she had a heart wall, which 93% of people have this phenomenon going on. It's very common. Well, there were 3 emotions in there, making up that wall, that invisible wall of energy around her heart. When I cleared those 3 emotions, suddenly her neck pain went away, and it never did come back. I saw her 3 months later, and I always will remember this. She walked into the office, and I said, hey, you look great. What's going on? And she said, you know, my neck's been fine since I was here, but she said, you released that heart wall for me, and that really works, because she said, about 2 weeks after I was here, I found out my childhood sweetheart's been living right around the corner from me for almost 8 years. And we're dating and we're in love, and I think he's going to ask me to marry him, right? And that's the kind of thing that happens when this wall is taken down. Now, here's what I believe. I believe that within each one of us, within each heart, is the perfect blueprint for our life. And the problem is 93% of us have this invisible wall of energy, this heart wall, that is blocking that and interfering with the heart's ability to really manifest. And when that wall gets taken down, when you do it yourself or someone helps you, and we have practitioners all over the world, but when that wall is taken down, suddenly that pure essence of who you really are, the true core of your being, starts to radiate out. It's not blocked anymore. It starts to radiate out into the immensity of space, and things start being attracted into your life that you really want. And people fall in love who never ever thought they would, of all ages. In fact, I got an email recently from a woman, she's about 85 years old. She said that she had never had a happy moment that she could recall in her entire life. She had a horrific life, kind of an awful life. She said she didn't know what it felt like to be happy, didn't know what joy meant, didn't know the meaning of the word, she couldn't relate to it, until her heart wall was taken down. She said that now she walks around all day and can't wipe the smile off of her face. She's feeling joy for the first time in her life because that wall was taken down. And so this understanding and the knowledge of how to take that wall down and how to take down your own heart wall and those of the heart walls of those that you love is in the Emotion Code books, see? And so that's why if you look at the bottom of right below my name there, you can see emotioncodegift.com, and if you go to that website, you actually can download the Emotion Code book, the audio of the book also. It's about a $67 value that we give to people for free because we want people to understand that they can do this themselves. And so it's a profound thing, and it's profoundly important. Getting rid of your emotional baggage is so important. If you're dealing with any kind of a disease process, any kind of mental or emotional difficulty at all, if you're not making enough money, if you're not experiencing enough love in your life, you need to get rid of your emotional baggage. And there's a very, very high possibility that you have a heart wall. And so you can get rid of that yourself, and it's amazing how things can change in your life when you do.
That's pretty cool. Dr. Nelson, Dr. Bradley, sorry. Are you okay if we move into some Q&A with some of our users that are listening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Donna.
Yes.
Questions from the listening audience?
Yeah, you bet. So, folks, of course, we're going to open up the questions. So if you want to get some questions answered, put them in the chat here. Now, you've got some folks in the audience, and some who are practitioners. You have some of your practitioners here in the audience, Dr. Bradley.
Awesome.
You also have Charles Singer. Singer is in the chat with us as well. In fact, he had a comment. Let's see. When Dr. Bradley talks about tapping into the subconscious mind, what I think really happens is the mind taps into the quantum realm where all information about the universe is stored. Can you comment to that, Dr. Bradley?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great comment. I believe there's actually a picture that I use. Let me see if I can find this because I think this might help. Let's see here. Hold on. Wouldn't you know? I don't have it here. Anyway, if you think about an iceberg, the tip of the iceberg floating above the water line is like the subconscious mind. Or I'm sorry, is like the conscious mind, okay? The subconscious mind is the part of the iceberg that's below the water line, okay? If you can imagine. The water that the iceberg is floating in, you can think of as universal intelligence. It goes by different names. The database of all that is, the database of genius, the light of Christ. There are different names for it, but that's what I think it is. It's really this universal database of intelligence. I believe that energy fills the universe, and that all the energy that fills the universe is actually itself intelligent. And so the universe is filled with intelligence and filled with knowledge, and so our subconscious mind is tapped into that. We don't know how this works, really. But yeah, great comment. And that's how I think we're connected. I think we all are connected into that, absolutely.
You know, you have another question, and this comes from Georgia. Georgia wants to know, how many heart walls can someone have?
Well, you know, typically what we find is the average person will have 18 to 24 emotions that are making up the layers of that heart wall. And so let me actually share a picture of this really quickly. Here we go. I'll just share, let's see, here we go, right here. Okay. So if you look here, you can see here's a person that has a heart wall, and they've got these various different emotions that are making up the layers of that wall. Fear and anger and sadness and depression and overwhelm and so on. And what happens to us is that typically most people will have one wall. It may be made of many emotions, but as we release those emotions, that wall disappears. Now, if you're in a difficult situation, maybe you're in an abusive marriage or relationship, or maybe your job at work is really difficult, if your heart feels like it's going to break again, the subconscious may put up another wall. And so what we'd like to do with people is when the heart wall is cleared, it's a good idea. We like to have them checked again at least every 6 months or so, just to make sure that that wall hasn't come back. So hopefully that answers that. It's possible for people to have more than one wall because how
do you, Dr. Bradley, how do you test for that? What do you look for?
Well, what we do, let me see if I can turn off the screen share here. Okay. Is it off?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, it's actually really, really simple. We ask the body questions, and the subconscious mind will answer those. Okay. The subconscious is essentially a binary computer, which means that it can answer yes or it can answer no. And the body answers yes by either swaying forward or through muscle testing. We use different methods of muscle testing. For example, we call this the ring and ring method, and the rings will stay together or be stronger if the answer is yes, or it will break on no. So to find a heart wall, we simply ask, do you have a heart wall? And if the body answers yes, if you're talking to yourself or your own subconscious, your body will sway forward for yes. In fact, if you're listening right now, you can do this. You can just stand up, relax, drop your hands down to your sides, and Donna, you want to do this?
No, I'm going to set this one out.
Okay. You can just pose that question. Think of that question in your mind. Do I have a heart wall? And as you focus on that question, if you do, your body will sway forward. If you don't, your body will sway backwards. And
I like the ring method on camera.
Yeah, the ring method is easy. So you can test yourself. And take this kind of testing, the self-testing, it takes a little bit of practice. But once you get it down, it's actually pretty simple. And this is really, I think, this understanding that the subconscious mind has all the answers is going to change our whole world, you see. It's going to change everything because the subconscious mind does know the answers. And really honestly, if you think about that analogy that I was giving about the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg might be like 5 or 10% of the iceberg. But in reality, I think that the subconscious mind is so much more than the conscious mind. I think of the iceberg as being, you know, the part underwater is the subconscious, and then the only part that's above the water is like a Dixie cup size conscious mind. That's who we are. We forget stuff all the time. The conscious mind, I mean, we're dialed back so far when we come into this world that we're kind of stupid.
Dr. Are you okay with doing a couple live callers?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
folks, if you want to dial in with a question for myself or Dr. Bradley, the number is 888-369-1396. Again, it's 888-396-1396. There's a little bit of a delay between it being broadcast out.
So, can I ask a quick question, actually, while we're waiting? Because Charles has a question. He wants to ask Dr. Bradley how a body code practitioner can treat a person remotely.
Oh, yeah. Great question. Well, you know, this is a funny kind of a thing. When I was in practice, sometimes patients would contact me from far away. They're on a vacation or something, and they would get hurt or they would have some kind of pain or whatever. And I would work on them remotely, and it didn't seem to matter where they went. And I never learned this from anybody else. It's kind of a strange thing. I just knew how to do this. It was like some knowledge that I just had always had somehow inside of me. Well, when I was writing the Emotion Code book, I got to this point in the book where I needed to decide whether to include this information about how to work on people at a distance. And I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I just got this feeling that, yes, this needs to be included. And so I did. And we don't know exactly how it works, but I'll tell you this. The subconscious mind, I believe, has this amazing ability built right into us. We have this ability, this built-in ability to set aside our own needs to act on behalf of someone else. And so we call this working by proxy or acting by proxy. The subconscious mind can set aside its own needs, and we can work for somebody else, work on somebody else. And it's a very concrete thing. It's actually very, very simple. And it works incredibly well. It always worked fine for me when I was in practice, but now we actually have about 2,500 practitioners now in about 60 countries, or 160 countries, I can't remember, in a lot of countries that do this for a living. And they work with other people that are in other countries, and they work with them and get amazing results, immediate results a lot of the time. And I think that it's time for us to realize that here we are in the 21st century, and we have not had any idea really how powerful we really are, the abilities that we actually have within us to do things like this, to work on other people that might be far away. And I've told people many times, you know, when you read the Emotion Code book.
You can do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's actually really simple. Yeah, it's not hard at all. And, let me see if I can think of a good example for you. Here's an example. When the Emotion Code book first came out, I was on a radio show. And this is like in late 2007 or so when the book came out. It was the Dr. Richard DeCenso program, and he's in Virginia. Well, there was a woman, I'm on the show with him, and there's a woman who calls in, and she's from Illinois, I think. Her name was Barbara, and we're still kind of connected. Well, anyway, she told me that she had a real problem with reflux, and it had been really bothering her for a number of years and getting worse and worse and worse, and she didn't know what to do. So I just tuned into her remotely and asked if there was a trapped emotion that was causing this, and the answer was yes. And the answer that came back, and I'm muscle testing myself getting these answers, and the answer that came back was that it was a trapped emotion of resentment. And I traced it back, and it occurred when she was 35 years old. Now, she was somewhere in her 50s at this time. 35 years old is when this happened, and she said, oh, yeah, I know exactly what that was about. So I released the emotion, the trapped emotional energy, and she said it seemed to feel a little bit better, actually, and I didn't think much more about it. Well, I went back to the interview and finished the interview, and then the next morning I get this email from her. And here's what she told me. She said that she went in that morning to have this previously scheduled surgery on this hiatal hernia that she had. She had a hernia where the stomach is protruding up into the thorax and the thoracic cage and causing tremendous reflux. Well, she went in to have the surgery. Now, they had previously done x-rays of this thing, and they had proved where it was. But before they do surgery, they'll do what's called a scout film, which is an x-ray that they take. They had her swallow barium, and then they did this x-ray. And the doctor studied the x-rays, and he came back in and he said, the x-rays are showing that it's gone. Somehow it's just not there anymore, so we're canceling the surgery. Luckily, she saw a doctor who had integrity, because some doctors would have just said, oh, we're doing this anyway, no problem. But so she left the doctor's office, came home, she sends me this email, and it's got like 100 exclamation points in it. She's never had another problem. See, the reality of it is we are beings of pure energy. Now we have to get away, we have to get our minds around that idea and get away from the idea that we're so used to, that our bodies are physical. I mean, they are, yes, but really our bodies are just made of pure energy. And if you can get your mind around that, it frees you to be able to do things that other people think are impossible. But I'll tell you something, when you read the Emotion Code book and you learn how to do this, the first time you use the emotion code on somebody that you love who maybe is in another state or maybe on the other side of the planet and they're in pain, maybe they're an 8 or a 9 on the pain scale, and you release some emotional baggage and they go to a 0, when that happens, your life is going to change and it'll never ever be the same again, because you realize, wow, this is for real. We're not making this up.
That is fairly, I resonate with a lot of things you're telling me. I just understand them vastly different than you. You do your work one way, I do mine another, but in the middle we all kind of, work out how it's going to happen. And a lot of the concepts you're talking about, I understand them intimately. I just do them slightly different than you do. With that said, I need to make a quick announcement before we wrap it up here tonight. Folks, last week for Valentine's Day, we did an entire show based on the Masterclass series, which is coming up a week from Tuesday, and we had very limited seating. We still have a few seats left, and I just want to kind of go over the details. Again, you can go back on the YouTube and you can watch the show over, but the skinny on it is this. We are going to be producing 6 Masterclass workshops, and within 2 days I'll have the precursor to all of these workshops called I Can Create Anything. It's absolutely free. You can download it in MP3 format. You can check it out. It's an hour and a half of me doing the type of work that I do. It was by far the most powerful workshop I've ever done, and it is the first foundation layer in the 6 workshops that are coming up. Okay, so I just want to kind of explain this deal here for a minute. You get 6 Masterclass workshops. Again, they're all explained in vivid, living detail in that particular show. You can watch it. It was from 2/14, Valentine's Day last week. They have a combined total retail value of $2,400. They're $400 each. I'm giving you Aquaware 4, the Source 4, and the 12th Project absolutely free. That's an $1,100 value. As soon as you purchase it, boom, it comes down. You can have the download links. I'm also going out on a limb here, and I'm going to be giving you a copy of Aquaware 5 for free. That's a $600 retail value when that comes out later in the year. And you're also going to have a 1-hour session with me. You can use it for questions during the workshops. You can use it for consultation. You can use it for energy work. Anything you want. 1 hour free. It's a $300 value. The combined total value of this package retail is $4,400. I'm giving you 78% off. Okay, we have a few seats left, and when they're gone, they're gone. Again, this entire package is only $997. The link was sent out in the email that went out for the show earlier. Again, 78% off, or $3,432 off this deal. They sold out like hotcakes the first night. We increased it by a few seats. Again, I can't do this again. We have a few seats left. If you want to get this deal, the Masterclass workshops, absolutely mind-blowing. I really empower you to go back and watch the Valentine's show special. It describes everything in vivid detail, so you'll have everything that you want to know about this particular package. But $997, I'm giving away 78% off. Software is absolutely free. Consultation is free. Aqua 5 is free. And, of course, the 6 classes that you get starting March 1st through April 5th. It'll be Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. They will be recorded. You'll receive an MP3 download. And, of course, again, we showcased Aqua 4 tonight. 33% off, 33 off show. So, back to you, Dr. Bradley. How can people get in touch with you, sir?
Well, we've got a couple of different websites that I can. I'll put the links for these right below my my name here. We've got first of all, emotion code gift. I'd like you to write that down. Okay, emotioncodegift.com. Send this to your friends. We want people to get this book and read it. You can also listen to it. If you go to this link, you can download the book. It's 10 MP3s. You can listen to it. You can read it, and send the link to your friends so that they can get it too, because it can change their lives. Now, we've got a couple of other sites. We have this one. It's called bodycodehealing.com. Right down below my name. Bodycodehealing.com is it's really the most advanced self-study course on energy healing that we have put together. And then also healerslibrary.com. Healers Library is our main site where you can watch videos and things like that and get more information about all of this. And again, the emotioncodegift.com. We'll go back to that one. That's the one where you can download the book for free, absolutely free. It's a $67 value, and just that's my gift to you for being on the show and listening. So
awesome stuff. Awesome.
And real quick, Dr. Bradley, you also have something coming up.
Yes, absolutely, we do. We have an emotion code seminar coming up that I'm going to be teaching myself. It is in Dallas, Texas, and it's going to be on Saturday, March 5th. We still have some tickets available for that. So if you go to healerslibrary.com, you can click on that link, and it's right at the top of the page if you're interested in coming. So it's going to be a great, great seminar.
Right on.
Dr. Bradley, thank you. Amazing guy, amazing products, and it's always a pleasure to have visionaries and pioneers like you on the MDM show. Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in to the show tonight. Again, it was another bomb. Absolutely amazing. Donna?
Yes, I just want to say thank you. And folks, tune in next week. We've got Holly Matthews Towers. She's going to be on the show next Sunday evening. She was actually in the chat. You guys might have been chatting with her.
Hey, Holly.
I know, right? Holly, we're so excited to have you on the show next week. So you guys know where to stay tuned. Please make sure you are going to the moderndaymystic.com website. The information is all there about everything that we do, the master classes that are coming up, the show, everything. Please get connected to us. I want to say good night, everyone. Thank you. This is a great show.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Peter and Donna. You guys are awesome.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.